Hi everyone, you're watching Expressive Photography. Now, we're down in an area of Scotland where my mum lives, and we're here to offer her a bit of emotional support. She's quite old, she's nearly 90, and we're down as a part of an extended family bubble. So even though we're in full lockdown, we're allowed to be here. Now also, we're here making this video. This is our job, and again, by the law, we're allowed to come out and do this. We're in an area of Scotland that's quite famous really for its folklore and its history, and I'm sat next to the Bard, as he is known, Mr. Robert Burns, and it just goes to show that people have been coming to the countryside with their tablets to make notes and to engage with the world, to find peace and tranquility for hundreds and hundreds of years. And Robert Burns wrote prolifically about the Scottish countryside, about nature, about the birds and animals and the environment that we live in. So this isn't a new phenomenon. People have known for hundreds of years the benefits of being out in the landscape, absorbing nature, feeling at one with the environment. Now, I'll be honest, the last few days I've been kind of struggling a bit, not with mental health particularly. I'm not depressed or anything, but you know, you get in a bit of a funk. And with landscape photography, when it's your job, that pressure to feel as if you've got to make photographs all the time and engaging with social media all the time, it is a genuine pressure. And you know, as Tom Heaton has said so many times, you know, there's only so many birch trees you can photograph before you're terrified that people are going to get birch tree fatigue. So what we've done is I decided to come and find water, and I was in a bit of a funk. And when we first got to the river there, I was really struggling because I came looking for a particular set of rocks that I've seen on a number of times before, and I couldn't get it to work. And you'll see from the photographs that I'm going to show you now, it just doesn't feel balanced, it doesn't feel harmonious. And even when I tried to get in really tight there, it just didn't feel like it was working for me. But following my own advice, and the thing that I say on this channel so many times, if you just notice the things that are speaking to you and the relationships that already exist in the landscape, that is the most likely place that we're going to find ourselves and the photographs that mean the most to us. And the second scene, you can see there, we've done a vertical and a horizontal version of this, and I'll talk a little bit more of that in the studio. But I found something that was harmonious. I found a shutter speed that spoke to me in terms of the aesthetic. The colour palette, I think we're going to be able to do some interesting things with in Lightroom when we get them home. And I found peace. I found peace in a mad world during a mad pandemic, and the countryside once again has delivered the thing that I need it to do the most, which is be itself and just remind me that there is beauty and harmony and peace and tranquility all around us, and we carry our clouds with us, and it's that carrying the cloud that has the most negative impact on our own landscape photography. So Kristin and I are going to wander up the canyon here. It's a bit icy and a bit frosty, so we're going to go steady, but hopefully we might find something else that brings us that peace and harmony that we so badly need in this current climate. So we're back here in the studio, but it's about 6 weeks after I recorded that stuff in the field there when I was sat next to the old Bard. And it's so funny to kind of look back on your catalogue sometimes with that kind of what was I thinking mentality. If we look at this first photograph, like I said, there's an amazing rock here, which is this really stunning, I'm not entirely sure what it is, whether it's a schist or something like that, but it is an absolutely beautiful rock. And I look at this photograph of it and it's just like, what was I thinking? Really? Compositionally, it's just all over the place. We've got this bit at the top, it feels like it's twisted. It's a very slippy area. It's a very, very dangerous area to try and walk, which makes it awkward. And I will go back and get this one day, but this is not it. So yeah, I'm not going to start processing this in any shape or form, but I will some of the others. I love the thing. I really, really love the thing. And when we left the house, it was I really wanted to go and make a photograph of this rock surface. But when I got there again, there's that making a video expectation, there's the performing expectation, there's the I'm a professional photographer, of course it's going to be amazing expectation, and all of that is nonsense. Anybody who thinks that professional photographers live in this utopian zone of perfection where everything we do is amazing is delusional. We have the same fears and anxieties and pressures that everybody else feels, whether you're just picking up a camera for the first time. So this was my first attempt. The second attempt is not a great deal better and is probably worse, actually. And this is me trying to make something work. So this is me consciously exploring, and for me it's just not a good way to work. It doesn't work for me. The first one, I think I could probably go in and do something with it, and let's hey, there's no time limit for this, so let's just dive in here. And I'm going to crop it down a bit. I think if we get rid of that top section and pull in that right hand side a little bit, but that there's bad, because I kind of like this bit's okay. The main, it's a bit so we need to get rid of that right hand side crack. So that composition's a lot more coherent. I'll brighten up the water a little bit, and I'm just going to use my HSL with the luminance to crank up the color of the brightness of those rock surfaces there, to try and bring out some of that warmth that I felt when I was there, because it is quite a beautiful thing. And then I'm going to use my camera calibration slider, and that'll give it a bit of a boost as well. And then I can come in with my temperature and tint, and you know, that way we're bringing out the richness of the rock that I know to be real. I've kept the water reasonably neutral. There is a little bit of coolness in the shadows there, but you know, it's not a dreadful photograph, but it doesn't quite do it for me. So let's move on. So this one we don't like. This, I thought, right, maybe I can try and zone in just on the textures. Blech, even worse. And this was the last one I tried. And at this point, I'd taken 4 photographs, was feeling truly miserable about myself, and thought, I am wasting a very lovely day by stressing about all this nonsense of trying to make photographs of something that doesn't want to be photographed. I do drift the same as everybody else does, from being quite chilled and zen-like, I suppose, and relaxed and calm, to another phase which is kind of lockdown syndrome at the moment, where we're feeling claustrophobic and trapped and we just can't wait to get out. So it's easy for us to fall into that trap of feeling cranky, really. And I hate that about myself. I really hate feeling cranky when I've got so much to be grateful for. My marriage and Kristin, my office, my guitars, living in the countryside. You know, I'm very grateful for everything that we have. So I stopped looking for compositions and instead decided to notice the things that did catch my eye. And I quite liked this arrangement of the water. I felt it sat in the frame really nicely. Now again, this is my 16 by 9 cropped in camera. So this is basically full frame in camera, cropped to 16 by 9. So I've lost the pixels. I need to stop doing this. I need to start shooting full frame again. But the first thing I noticed immediately was that this is 1/10 of a second, and it didn't feel perfect to me. I liked the arrangement, but I didn't feel that the shutter speed was perfect. So I did another one at 1/3, And I quite liked this right hand side. I think is beautiful, and I do quite like the left hand side. It's got a little blurry on the left hand side, but the right hand side I think is really good. And then I did a third one that's also a third of a second, and then I did one for an eighth of a second. And I think I zoomed in slightly for that last one. Yeah, there's this area of white on the right and the left hand side there. So I zoomed in a bit tighter to get rid of that, and that feels really intimate. And if I look at the four of them, that's too detailed, that's very mushy. I do quite like the last one that I took, because I think if I process this one, this white area is going to get really out of control. So I think I will just quickly, and photographs like this don't need anything. It's just a case of understanding how bright or dark you want the frame. I think I want to make this one reasonably open. I'm going to open up the shadows a little bit to try and get a little bit of the warmth and richness in those rocks. I'll open up my whites a little bit to get some luminosity into the water. Now you can see a bit of greenishness in the water there. That's the colour of the water. There's a bit of peat in it, so it can get a little bit colourful. I don't want to cool it too much. Water always looks cool when it's cool. It's just the way our brains, I think, respond to it. I am going to use my camera calibration again, and you can see we're bringing in quite a lot of interesting tones, but mostly in that greeny side. So I'll just use the magenta slightly. If I wanted to tone that greeniness down, we can cool that further, and just neutralizing it really. With a little bit of the opposite. If it's a bit green, you can add magenta. If it's a bit yellow, you can add some blue, or vice versa. And that doesn't bother me so much now. So very quickly, we can end up with a photograph that's kind of just clean, and it's showing the key elements that I liked. I said in the introduction to this video that we've shot both a horizontal and a vertical version. And the vertical version looks kind of dark now after we processed the first one. But I have already processed this one. I like the way this shield of rock came in from the bottom there. This shield, it felt like it was very organic to me, even though of course it's rock. Let's look at the worked image. Which I think is too bright. The way I process images is they are snapshots in time. And I think that our preferences and our perspectives change over time. And I can process an image today and it suits my mood, or it suits the music that I'm listening to, or it suits the weather outside, or the type of day I'm having. And I think I like that. There's no definitive version of a photograph. There's no perfect version of a photograph. Because even if we think it represents reality, our perspective of reality, or our perception of reality, can change as well. So I think it's important to allow ourselves to be flexible and fluid in terms of how we finally represent our photographs. Both of these compositions, and if I just grab the two that I worked there, both of these compositions are essentially of the same content. And you can see this one on the right hand side here is taken from a little bit further on to the right hand side. So we're looking face on, or a little more obliquely onto those falls, but more face on. And then we've come across them for the image on the left hand side, and we're shooting across the falls. And what that does is has a profound difference of the dynamics. Everything on this side is a little bit
softer angled. The slopes here are all, it feels less severe. It's open and it's a 16:9 horizontal. And the thing with that is it's going to feel more expansive and relaxed. The one on the left feels tighter and more intimate, and everything feels much crisper and sharper. And I think this is a really good example of shooting one thing from slightly different angles and seeing how profoundly it can change the feel of the content. And I do like these two photographs. I really do. In fact, at this very, very moment in time, the horizontal is the one that probably speaks to me the most. And I think, yeah, that's I'm happy with that. The one on the left I processed maybe 5 or 6 weeks ago when I first got back, and I've made it a bit crunchy and a bit punchy, and it feels a little bit overdone to me. Maybe in the last month, I've the conversations with Joe Cornish and Rachel Talabart are changing my perspective on the type of photographer I want to be and the type of person I want to be. And I believe now I'm moving into this direction of real life, like a witnessing approach to landscape photography. I've been doing a lot of Gobi images, and so many of them are heavily abstracted and really, really dark. And I'm moving more, when I'm back in Scotland now, to representing the landscape much more as it is, and just now allowing the natural softness of the colours and the tones to be themselves. So we're all on a journey, we're all on a path, and maybe this is the way the channel is going to go now, is exploring my own development a little bit more. Because like I said at the beginning, this concept that professional photographers are somehow a finished article is madness. You know, everyone I speak to who makes all of their income from landscape photography, we are all on a timeline, and we're all evolving and changing. I mean, I'm doing so on a weekly basis at least, but at least a monthly basis, I notice changes in myself and how I'm approaching the landscape. Stick around on Expressive Landscape Photography. We do hope to try and bring a more emotional and self-development attitude to YouTube and to landscape photography. These images are not about being popular. They are just representations of my relationship with the landscape. Of course, if you folks like them, then that is great, because it's how we make our living. If you want to support us, please have a look at the membership channel. Every week we're posting some really in-depth videos covering some of the more technical and philosophical approaches to landscape photography, where I go a lot deeper than I can do on the main channel. Our ebook collection is growing massively on our store with all the products that we brought out, plus books by TJ Thorne and the wonderful Sarah Marino. There's new products coming very shortly with my processing videos, and of course my photo book of the Gobi will be coming along in 2021 as well, which I'm super excited about. Thank you very much, as always, for joining me here, and yeah, I look forward to bringing you Rachel Talabart on Vision and Light in the coming weeks. And yeah, apart from that, have a good time, everyone, and I hope you're safe and well wherever you are in the world. And thanks once again for supporting and watching Expressive Photography. All the best now. Bye-bye.